Anyway, here we go. Attempt number 12 or whatever, recording episode 157. We're talking about some negative reviews today. We got a we got a 1-star review. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about how it's difficult to run a business.
Very.
And I think a lot of people out there think if you're good at hair, that you are good at business.
Completely separate.
Yeah, those two skill sets are not even close to the same thing at all.
No, and it's why you see people struggle when they are like, I do great hair. I'm going to run a business. And then they're like, this is really hard. I want to quit. Like, yeah, we know.
Let's start with an opening take.
Oh, shit.
Haha. And I'll go first.
Great.
So you can have time to not listen to me, but think about what you're going to say after, which isn't listening. All right. So you go ahead and enjoy that. Mine's short, though. So I'm sort of stalling here for you. My opening take is I read a comment on the gram that was not true. And I know for a fact it wasn't true. But the person was sort of taking credit for something that didn't happen, 1. And 2, they were insinuating that in order for them to do something good, someone else had to do something bad. And that's not the way the world works. I just don't know why so many people are stuck in that. In order for me to be good at X, someone else has to be bad at it.
Fair.
That doesn't, it's like people that think if they make less money, I'll make more money. It doesn't matter.
Right.
How much someone else makes. It doesn't matter how good at something someone else is. It has no effect on you at all. Talking bad about or thinking that somehow putting down one person is making you look better is flawed.
Agreed.
That's my opening take. Hopefully I stalled that long enough for you to have something.
No, I'm feeling flat right now, man. Dang. I'm going to go, I guess, off of my last opening take last week because it's still where our lives are at. So for those of you who are new to listening, we have 3 children. And this year in the school year, all 3 are in school full day on the bus. So our youngest child is now full day kindergartner. Our last episode, I was definitely having a lot of anxiety and actually maybe even a little bit of a panic attack about it and was very emotional. But what I think is really cool is when you do your best as a parent and then you see your kids thriving in these new environments that you know they're going to do good, but until they get in those environments, like you need to see them do good. So it's been very cool to watch our kids come into a routine, pivot where they need to for all kinds of things we're asking them, from bedtime to lunches to snacks, and truly complain very little. Having said that, as a parent, I'm also, as you know, a salon owner, a mentor, as Todd just said. My apprentice, which in the state of New Hampshire is 3,000 hours, is just about to finish her program. So as a parent, I'm proud there. And then when I go into the salon and I mentor my apprentice, Emma, and I see her growing, and I just spoke with her yesterday, and she was like, when this started, I felt like it was going to take forever. And then now I'm here and I miss you and I want to be with you all the time. It's just another proud moment. If you set up these people you love to do great things in the world, when they're ready to go do them, they do them well. And if there are people around you are not doing things well, you've got to set them up better. That's my opening take. How's that?
Awesome. All right. Let's dive into that bad review.
Okay.
You wanted to talk about this, so we got a 1-star review, and I don't really have much to say about it. I know you do. These things used to bug me. I know they used to bug you. When I had my gym, I just learned how to deal with stuff. And I think for a lot of people listening, for starters, there's, 3 sides, they say, to every story. My side, your side, and then what actually happened. Sometimes you'll get a review that's just batshit crazy and it doesn't even make sense. So I really don't know what else to say about it without being rude, because I want to just be rude. I want to say the person's name, but everyone listening can just go on and look at our 1-star reviews. You can see the person.
I think it was a 12-page review.
Yeah. And they talked all about how they went somewhere else and they're so happy and blah, blah, blah. Now, just keep in mind that this person, came into our salon set up a consultation, came into our salon just for the consultation, was happy with it, left, booked another appointment, came back, saw one of our hair pros, and was happy, paid, tipped, and rebooked their next appointment. Left, called to say how happy they were with the service. They told the stylist, you really know what you're doing. I can't wait to see you again in 8 weeks. Then we got an email that said, I've been reaching out and reaching out and reaching out. I've sent multiple emails. So there was one email, and I think on the review, it was like 20 pages long. So I was like, nobody's reading this shit. But I think it said that they reached out and called and called and called, which is just simply not true. But I just, when you have someone that's a lunatic, there's only so much you can do, right? So that's not a reflection of you. And if I make this a video clip and you're watching me, you'll see that my same resting bitch face didn't change at all. It doesn't affect me. It is definitely a reflection on that person less than it is on me, because if you go read it, you'll be like, this is absurd. And now I have fantasy football draft stuff popping up after I yelled at you for not knowing how to turn off your notifications. So anyway, I don't know what you want to talk about, but I guess I can jump in if you have anything else.
I think the background is great. I woke up this morning and I think the bad review came in at like 3:46 a.m. our time. And I was
another red flag.
Yeah.
By the way,
what the heck?
Who is up at 3 a.m. leaving reviews on businesses?
I thought the same thing.
Good or bad. Wild.
And I, as an owner, any owners listening, or if you run your own business, there are fires to put out daily, sometimes by the minute, sometimes by the hour. But it definitely doesn't help when your day starts with a shit ass review, 1 star. And then I didn't have my glasses on, so I couldn't really even see what the lady was saying. But I was aware of what was happening. I actually yesterday Todd and I had gone over the email this weekend, and I had talked to the service provider, already knowing I was in the day this client was in, and she had pulled me aside that day to be like, I think my client's crazy. I might need your help. Cool. But I kind of observed a bit. Client left happy, was rebooking. I'm like, oh, we're totally good. So when the review came in, I was like, oh, this is interesting. But I had the backstory. Anyway, so when I wake up this morning, my old self, like a couple years ago, this would have ruined my whole entire day. Like, I don't even know if I would have been able to do certain things. Like, oh my God, we have to get ahead of this bad review. It's so bad. But where we are today, and we do so much work with the staff to get them at a level, if they're on the floor doing hair, they deserve to be on the floor doing hair. We just put so much effort into the business and the branding that a bad review to me now is generally kind of funny. And I'm enjoying that the person I am as a leader now. I'm not like, it doesn't make me so upset that I'm like losing my mind. And I know that Todd will take care of it. I asked him this morning and he's like, you know me, Jen, 24 hours and I will respond. I think as you come into leadership.
I don't bend over for somebody that's like, I reached out several times. First of all, you reached out twice. Or no, you reached out 3 times. You reached out one time to say on the phone how awesome
how wonderful we were.
Your appointment was. Then you reached out through email saying how everything was pretty much fine. And I don't want to read the email, but the email said that everything was okay-ish. Like it wasn't a completely happy, but not the end of the world. And then woke up to a 1-star review.
And that she didn't want us to fix it.
Right. She didn't want us to fix it. She wanted some money. And we don't do reviews. It's on our refunds. It's on our website. So I don't know what to tell you. Like I would have had somebody fix it for you, but you said it was fine.
Right.
So I don't know what we would be fixing. It was only not fine when we didn't reach back out as soon as possible. And it was Labor Day weekend, by the way, folks.
And so we can't follow up on something until we talk to the person that's done the hair. So we have our stylists, our hair pros back first, and then we go from there. And I had already had a little bit of her back because I knew I was in the salon through the weekend. So I sort of had a feel for where this was going. But I think you have to embrace 1-star reviews. You're going to get them. It's where it's at. I think if you do enough work to get enough reviews on Google anyway, you're good. Like you said, Todd, this review was obviously so crazy that Google didn't even put at the top of our review list. I think there's just people out there
and it
that,
didn't change anything. We
yeah.
have a couple hundred, not a ton, but we have a couple hundred reviews that are all 5 stars, and we have like 4 reviews that are 1 star. So
And as a business, you're going to get that.
yeah, that's the balance that I'm willing to have. I will tell you this right now to anybody listening. Hello Hair was not built for everybody.
Right.
And I don't care. I would never try to build a business for everybody.
Right.
That when you do that, you end up at just
For
this
nobody.
mediocrity. Like, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. You have to have sort of a target clientele. You have to have a dollar range that you're working within, because you have to bring in a certain amount of money, because you have to operate with profit, or why do you have a business?
Right.
So you have to like apply all of those things to sort of the bigger picture.
Right.
I guess what I was trying to get at there.
Yeah. And what I've learned over however long I've owned businesses is just, if something comes up on social media, we get bad reviews, or somebody writes something, we'll respond and just say, hey, if you want to email us here, we'd love to talk about this further. We don't ignore people, but we also don't need to get in an argument with somebody that's on a social media platform. For Google, Todd will respond to the review, like he said, within 24 hours and use the way he responds to the people. If you look at some of if now you go on and look at our reviews, and we've had the few bad ones, they're quite hilarious the way he typically responds. So if you need a good laugh, I would actually go check that out, because it's kind of funny.
Well, look, you have to you want to have some sort of branding and some sort of identity. And our business is it's light and fun. We don't take ourselves all that seriously. I love sarcasm, so all those things. I think I had a woman one time said that she had the worst day of her life at our salon. And I was like, things are looking up for you then, because if that's the worst day of your life, that you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? The worst day of your life is because you didn't like your haircut in the salon. Like, yeah, good for you. You're doing way better than I am. Like, I've had way worse shit in my life than a bad haircut.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how entitled somebody is, or how like spoiled they must be to write something like that?
Yeah.
And that's where, again, it's even when I had my gym, it was always, what's that saying? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. It's just the people that bitch tend to take our attention, which I clearly don't have right now. And they just suck it up, and they use so much of your bandwidth when it doesn't have to be like that. It's a choice. How you react is a choice. That person writing that review, I can't do anything about that.
Nope.
That was on them. They decided to write that. They decided to attack somebody on our staff by name. They didn't have the correct name. They used a random name of someone that I've never even heard of. Multiple times through there. So I'm like, this person's not even like this person is just sort of like a joke. Like, it doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. You called this person, asked for her, and then praised her and said, you know what you're doing. You also were told that your color or whatever it was unrealistic for that appointment. So you gave leeway there. It just, I can't change somebody lying after the fact. So I'm not going to try. And what I can do and what I can influence is how I react to it. And I'll react when I choose to react. So maybe she'll get 24 hours. Maybe she'll get 72. Because you know why? Sometimes people just want their attention. And we have so many amazing clients that go out of their way to leave reviews that I'm grateful for. And those are the people that I'll reach back out to immediately.
Yeah.
Usually by the next day, a few days at tops. Like when I see the reviews, I try to really check them like once a week. But if I get an email that reminds me and I have a second, I usually go on there and I'm like, thank you so much for taking the time, because it makes our day, And then we have all the clients that leave reviews we have an internal review system in there. And sometimes people complain in there. Again, it's super rare. Maybe it's a couple times a year. Somebody's not happy. But again, we're not trying to be for everyone. So I think that's the lesson that you take away, is that you're not for everyone, which means you're going to have people that aren't happy.
Right.
And then the second part of that lesson is how they react is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of them.
Totally.
So
learning how to deal with those curveballs is really important. And it like you got to keep your head straight. Focus on all the positive ones. We focus all the time on all the hair pros under Hello Hair Co. getting reviews and mentioning their name and all that. And we'll continue to focus on that because that's what's going to build our brand and their own personal brand within our salon. So don't let one bad review ruin your day or any minutes in your day, because it's not.
Yeah, the stylist that got called out by name at this last review I don't even know who that person is.
It's even funny.
Don't work for us. I don't have anybody by that name that works for us. So obviously I could look up the service and the client, but if I went off the name, I would be like, I don't have any indication you've ever even been at my business, but here we are.
Maybe it's a review she puts at all salons. I don't know.
It could be. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we want to talk about, what else were we talking about? Oh, difficulties of entrepreneurship. So I don't even know where to start with this one either.
Yeah, this is a struggle I feel like we've seen on some different social media groups we're a part of right now. And I'll say in general, it feels like we're seeing a lot of hairstylists that are I would say fairly busy, whatever their standard of fairly busy is. Like they're busy behind the chair doing clients. They have decided to go and open a salon. It seems like a lot of them are at this like 4-year mark and they are absolutely miserable. They are financially strapped beyond anything they can afford and are basically just feeling, I think their words were, depressed. They are just not enjoying anything that they have committed to. And, kind of what should they do? And Todd
defeated. I see the term defeated on there a lot.
Great word. That
People
is
will say that. It is interesting too that you brought up the 4-year mark, because I keep seeing, I've been doing this for 4 years and I'm ready to quit. And I'm like, we've been 4 years. Well, I guess we're closer to 5 now, but we are at like 4.5 years or approaching 4.5 years. And I feel like our salon is in a stronger position than it's ever been.
Absolutely. Than any business we've ever run. Yeah.
That's not intended to like brag or anything like that. It's just intended to say that there is a way that you can make it happen.
Yes. And it requires constant work on your business. It requires everything we've talked about before, which is like a mission statement, core values, a vision. It requires you having an accountant. It requires you knowing your numbers. It requires you marketing. It requires you leading your team. It requires you always hiring. It requires you training your team. Like it's exhausting. But yet if you're sitting there and maybe you're one of these people that have posted on these pages, if you haven't done any of that work, I don't say you're defeated. You just didn't do the work. So you're now handed what is like the worth of the work you put in, which is nothing. Like just going and doing your clients doesn't mean that everyone's going to show up and do their clients. Nobody's going to work as hard as the owner, ever, ever, ever. It's not going to happen. And nobody's going to do the work the way you want. Or I hear all the time, like these people coming out of school, they have no idea what it's like. Like, no, they're in their own world. Those are the young professionals that you will be hiring to work in your salon. So figure out how to motivate them, how to get them excited about what the steps are for them to help build the business with you. That's on you to figure that out. Like
They are right about that though. The people coming out of school have no idea how it was when they opened their salon 40 years ago.
Right.
Because it wasn't 40 years ago. Right. They weren't even born.
Even 4 years ago, they were in high school probably. Like they weren't thinking about your business.
No, not at all. Or owning one or running one. You know what I mean? Like it's not on them. It's not their responsibility to suffer with you. If you're somebody that's out there because misery loves company, right? So if I'm not doing good, everyone has to not do good.
You have to lift them up.
And I know that's hard. That's part of entrepreneurship, is that you have to stay on all the fucking time.
Yes, that's part of it. That's why not all businesses are successful. And those business owners that have been in business for a long period of time, 4 years is not a long period of time, will tell you like there's ups and downs. I see all the time people even like, when I get here, it's going to be all set. As soon as you get here, you're coming back down here to come back up here. It's never going to stay here. The bar is here. Now it needs to go higher. Then it needs to go higher. You need to keep working. If that sounds exhausting, you should not own a business.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for not everyone should be an entrepreneur. It's a skill set it's not the same as cutting hair. Just because you cut hair well doesn't mean that you look at anything else. Like I used basketball as an example with you earlier at breakfast. When you look at somebody and they're like, oh, I'm really good at basketball because you play pickup games at your local rec? Like what does that have to do with like the NBA or the Olympics? Like, are you that level? Like, and even even those two things are different. But now you have a basketball player that's in the NBA. Does that automatically mean they can own a team and know what they're doing?
Right.
Like these things don't correlate. And yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I talked to somebody once that said, I want to work for someone for 5 years and then open my own place. And I said, interesting. Why 5 years? That's pretty specific, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of a comment. And this person was like, well, I don't want to have any questions that I don't know the answers to. And I was like, oh God, that's going to take a lot more than 5 years.
You're always going to have questions.
It's going to take more than 5 lifetimes.
Yeah.
You're never going to have all the answers.
Nor should you.
The important thing is knowing where to get the answers. Right. It's not having them all off the top of your head. That doesn't make you any better than anybody else.
Where do you go to find them?
So interesting. One of the challenges I had that is kind of a suck thing or not is balancing your work and your outside of work. And like maybe a year or two ago, we saw this explosion of like boundary talk on social media. And it was like boundaries. Your clients don't deserve to contact you, and they don't deserve this, and they can't have your phone number. Well, look, Angry Alice, I don't know why you started working in a service industry if you're so miserable and don't want people to talk to you. I'm not saying go give out your personal phone number. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that there are a lot of successful people that their clients have their phone numbers. Mm-hmm. Lots of them. I know one of them. He sleeps next to me every night. Might be me. And I have clients that have my phone numbers and they'll reach out to me. Like, I don't have a problem with it. It's not a huge thing. Like if I've had people that are running late and they're, oh my God, they're not going to call the salon. They're probably just thought, and they're like, text Todd and let him know. Like I appreciate what they're trying to do. I don't look at it as this negative.
Yeah. I don't give a crap who has my phone number. Doesn't matter to me. I'll answer if I want to and won't if I don't.
Obviously, with owning a business, there's going to be financial stress.
Yes.
So if you're not in the position to deal with that, and I'm not saying that don't take a risk or whatever, like you're going to have risk. That's risk taking is the name of the game, right? You're going to wake up every day and you're going to love taking risks. But what I am saying is if you don't think that you can mentally handle that, you shouldn't take on running a business. You shouldn't take on buying a business.
Right.
Because it's another thing that I keep seeing sort of come up again and again is people will say, I don't have the money to invest in whatever I need. So you ask for a recommendation. What do you guys do to get clients in? Well, I do this for marketing. I don't have money for marketing. Okay. Well, you asked what I did.
We didn't either when we started out, but we understood the importance of what that marketing would do, a long game. And we figured out how to strategize and make that happen. And there were all kinds of different plays that Todd and I needed to make and sacrifices that we needed to make for the business in order to afford the marketing so that we could grow the business. We understood when we opened that we want to fill it with the right people who work there and enough clients to keep everybody busy. We also realized that means the hair pros have to do a certain thing, but the money that needed, it wasn't just there, it's not sitting there, but what do we need to create? Like, what's the solution? There's always a solution. And also it's how much do you want to work to get there? If you're like, I only want to work 3 days, well, then again, you shouldn't be doing it. But that meant us working constantly for 2 years-ish, always putting in work. We were working in order to get where we needed to be.
Yeah. True story. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just financial stress. That's definitely going to be something that you're going to have to overcome mentally. Yeah. I know of people, and I've heard of people, and I know you do too, Jen, that financial stress caused them like health problems.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just being so stressed out all the time. So you've got to watch that stuff. This isn't all, rainbows and unicorn fucking hair.
No, you're lucky if you get that.
There's other stuff to it. Most people might not think about this, but when it comes to like decision making, that can be quite stressful too, especially if you have a business partner, especially if that business partner is your spouse, like we have. So we have times where we fight for the things that we want or that we truly believe. Like if Jen has something that she's like, this is a non-negotiable, she'll fight me on it. And I'm not talking about arguments where we're throwing stuff around or anything crazy like that. I'm just talking about, I might say, I don't think that's a good idea. And she's like, we have to try. I feel like we have to try this. And I usually know like when she's into it enough that she's willing to like roll the dice, or she pulls that, I think we should try this. I know you disagree. I know you don't like it, but I think we should try this. That's usually when I'm like, okay, you're in charge of it, go
Yep.
off.
Usually you say, it looks like you've made up your mind. And yeah, exactly. Like you're in charge of
Yeah.
it. Or
Yeah, you're in
say to
charge of
me,
it.
how does it work? A lot of times this comes up in the beginning. How does it work for the mission, the core values, and the vision of like what we've laid out for our brand? Like, does it
Yeah,
align? And then
make it make
sometimes,
sense.
yeah, like, does it make sense? And make it make sense to me within what we've created. And that's not always fun. Like the fun part is just like, I got this great idea, but it makes me poke holes in it. It makes me look at it and it makes me challenge, am I making the right decision for the right reasons? Not just because, oh, that'll be fun and cute. Like, so I now make better decisions for the business, in the business, because of that. Because now I realize like these are what we laid out and what needs to like fit into that. Also, Todd will say to me, and if it doesn't, do we need to switch that? Are we moving in a new direction? Are we innovating on our mission or our core values? Have those changed? At this point, they have not. But they're great questions that we have to have when we're making decisions.
Yeah, I can't think, or I guess maybe the marketing was the first thing that I was like, Jem, we need this. And you were like, I don't know if we have the money in the budget for that. And I was like, no. We definitely do not have the money in the budget for this, but we need it.
Yeah,
And
no,
you
we
were
definitely
like,
can't
well, I
afford
don't
this.
know. And I was like, well, I already set it up. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
I think you
I don't
laid
think I had
out
officially
exactly
set it up at that point.
yeah.
But
You were just like, this is what's going to happen over this X amount of times. This is how we're going to look at the numbers. We can actually measure it. We can measure the success. We can look at this. And if you want to be where we are now at 4.5 years, this is the only way to get there. So, otherwise we're at a snail's pace, which we couldn't afford to be at. So it was kind of like, what do we need to do this? And I was like, yeah, that makes total sense.
yeah, I think there's going to be times where, and I guess this comes down to mindset too, which is another sort of, I feel like, buzzword, but you need to have an entrepreneur's mindset, because there are going to be times where you have to go all in on stuff, and it is a risk and it is stressful, but it needs to be calculated. Yeah. And I don't know that, like reading comments and stuff that people make, I don't know how calculated these people are actually being, because to have a total lack of knowledge of anything to run, like, how do you grow your business? I've been doing this for 4 years. So what have you been doing for 4 years? That's my question.
Probably
what have
nothing,
you been doing? So,
or very little,
yeah,
or whatever you think, but it's not working. Like this is,
if something's not working, you should have some sort of cutoff, first of all. So say, I don't know, like with your marketing, like with SEO and things like that, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years, whatever. And then you can reevaluate it. But until that point, you don't have enough data to make a decision on it. It's not the same as hiring somebody and they're not a good fit. If you hire somebody and they're not a good fit, maybe that's a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day approach. But you should have a cutoff of when you're going to address that person and say, hey, this is not the best fit. So you have to have something that you're working on. And if you're listening and you're like, this is too much, I can't do this, I would either double down on what you're doing. You probably need help. So you're going to have to hire somebody to help you at that point to sort of save your business.
Right.
Or I would get out as quick as possible.
Yes. We've seen that too.
If you're somebody that's like, I bit off more than I can chew, I don't know what else to do, I'm losing money, end it as soon as possible. It does not mean you're a failure.
No.
It does not mean that you can't do hair. It does not mean you can't open another business.
Right.
It just means that you didn't make it. And most people do not. So don't take that to heart. Like what I said in my opening take, how you react to, actually, I don't think I talked about that in the opening take, but either way, how you react to a situation is what defines you.
Yeah. That was during our bad review chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not that you're not defined by it. You're not a bad person because you didn't make it as a business owner.
Right.
More people are not going to be business owners that are.
Yeah.
A lot more. Vast majority. What else we got?
I don't know.
I have some notes, but they're a little loose. Systems and stuff like that, those aren't fun, glamorous things. at all, but they're necessary.
Very much.
So I guess commitment to the tedious is something that if you want to be successful and grow a business, you're going to need that stuff in place. Now, if you're an independent person listening, you probably don't need any of this. You can just squeak by. It's just you.
Right.
I would have some stuff in place. Like how I know a lot of people don't think about a clientele. They think, well, I have enough of a clientele to be on my own. But the moment you start doing that is the moment that you're regressing in a way. Because what happens when a client leaves?
Right.
What happens when clients move on or move or the economy turns and some of your clients can't come and see you anymore? How are you marketing to new ones? And if you think that the salon you're at is going to continue to give you clients to, if they start seeing some pain, due to whatever might be going on in the economy or whatever, that's not going to happen. They're going to take care of themselves first. So, which is pretty much the opposite approach that we've taken.
Right.
Attempt to take care of our staff first, which is another thing that's not always easy.
Right.
But we look at that as the best way. That was the approach since day one for Hello, is take care of the staff first and everything else will fall into place. Most of the time, the decisions we make positively impact our staff. But we do have to do what's best for the business.
We want the business to still be there, right? And they understand that too.
Or else, so somebody might get upset at a decision that we make or a change that we make, but hopefully they understand that it's with the whole entire team's best interest at heart. It's not saying no to something or not changing something because. Right. I have communication on my list too for things that are going to be a struggle for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And business owners, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to have to learn how to communicate. You need it in all sorts of examples, like replies to reviews.
Yes.
Right? You have to learn how to communicate. I've seen so many reviews that get a reply by the owner that the owner is like attacking.
Right.
And
like they're trying to stand up for whatever their position is. And like, that's not the place to do that.
No, you don't want to fight people online. Now, if you're, I don't fault people if they're snarky or whatever, if that's how they are, if that's how their branding is, if that's how their business is run. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's restaurants where they're rude to you, right? When you go in. So like, if that's how you run your stuff, then run it that way. We tend to have sarcasm. So keep an eye out for my sarcastic replies. Communication with your team. I don't know if this person's a good fit. What do I do? Well, start with talking to them. I don't know why you're on Facebook. I don't know why you're in a group asking what you should do. You should ask a person if they're happy.
Right.
Better yet, ask the person what you could do to make them happier. Maybe the person wants to leave your team, but they feel like they'd be letting you down, so they're sticking around. You don't know until you communicate with the person.
And those are what I call hard conversations. There are not great always to have. They're not always great to have, but I find for us, like 9 times out of 10, if there's a situation happening, whatever, we sit down with somebody and it goes so great. Like they needed to say something or they needed the perspective to be turned around so they could understand like sort of what their actions were doing. They're like, oh my God, thank you so much for pointing that out to me. Or thank you so much for even caring enough to come to me. Like that's how they look at it. It's easy to be so afraid of a conversation. Like you're literally going to a group, like, what do I do? And generally whatever we're reading, we're like, why do you even have to ask? Like clearly this isn't a fit. So go to that person and be like, I don't feel like this is fitting. Where are we at? They might be like, oh, I don't, whatever. They're going to come back with their own thing, but it's not going to be what you expect. Ever is it going to be what you expect? But it's having that conversation of like, hey, don't feel there's a vibe here going on. Let them talk to you. Let them speak. And the more you do that, the easier it does become. I don't think it's ever super easy, but the communication part is key.
What about communication even with like a distributor? So look, we all know this example, the person that says, I just don't like saying no. I'm not good at saying no. I'm bad at saying no. Well, you're not cut out to run a business then, because you have to actually say no to more things that you can say yes to.
Yes.
That's a fact. So you have a distributor and they come in and their job is to sell you products, right? You need products to run your operation. They know that. They solve that problem for you. So you've chosen them. That's clever marketing on their part. Now, they want you to sell more products, of course, right? And that's good for everybody as long as that's happening. What's not good for everybody is these salons that are sold on 27 different product lines, and they have just a mishmash of stuff because they think that's what's going to help, or they just can't say no. So going back to the communication, like, you have to communicate with these people. No, this is not helping my business. This is in fact stressing me out.
Right.
And I guarantee you, if you have anybody half worth anything, they're going to probably apologize, and then they're going to say, how can I help you?
Yeah. And then they should, that relationship becomes good. But also then they respect, that's a boundary right there too, right? Like, we had to do that when we opened Hello, and like, I don't need you coming in here with every new product you have or whatever you think. Like, first of all, that's a conversation you have with Todd and I before you bring anything in. Don't just drop shit off. I don't like that. It's never going to stay here if you just drop stuff off. People do it all the time, and I'm like, this is never, there's not even a conversation to be had now because you didn't respect us as owners. And then understanding where we come from. Like, there was just a big sale with our distributor, and the rep was like, I know you don't stock a ton of retail, but I still feel I need to let you know this sale is here if you want to take advantage of it. Totally cool. But she understands where we sit with like how much retail we are willing to put on our shelf. That's a good relationship. But we had to have some conversations leading up to get to where our relationship is.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that too. I mean, you're not being a jerk by saying to your sales rep that, hey, this is what I'm looking for. So if you have something that fits that, show it to me. And here's how I like to be contacted. And here's how I like to, here's how I like to have that initial conversation. Like, for us, I've had people stop in the salon before and drop off products, and all the stylists get all excited and they're like, can we get this? Can we get this? And the answer is no. Like, I already knew it was cheesy before the person even walked through the door. The person walked through the door condescending too. They wouldn't even look at me. I told them, I was like, I don't know what to tell you. And they started telling me about all these celebrities and celebrity hairstylists. And I was like, do you see any celebrities here? Do you think that, like, by you name dropping someone that you've never met, that I'm going to be like, oh, I'll take your products now? No, I'm not going to. So, and that's not our, if you're listening, that's not our current distributor. No. That was a rando that just walked in. Another thing that's annoying that you have to have the conversation of, or it's annoying to us, I should say, is people that just drop in. Look, you understand that we're in the hair industry. You understand we run on appointments. You understand that our time is generally like busy, right? Some days more than others, but either way, if you want to drop in and say hello, do that.
Yeah.
Do that. Come on in. Have a glass of wine. Sit down. If I have time, I'll give you a service. Whatever. But don't drop in expecting to have business conversations in the middle of, like, you know, a Tuesday.
Is the owner here? And I'm like, I'm shampooing someone. Like, oh, can I just leave? And I'm like, which part of I'm shampooing someone did you not understand? The person paying me gets my time, not you who wants to sell me something. You can make an appointment.
Yeah, I've said that to people too. One time I had some extension lady stop in, ask for the owner, and I was like, oh, she's with a client, because I don't want to talk to you. So I pretended that I was just an employee.
I've done that before.
And when I said that, she got like visibly upset that I wouldn't interrupt you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Now you're out.
Yeah. No.
You just burned the bridge. So act with some integrity. But either way, it's on you as the business owner or as the professional to communicate with people how you want to be dealt with, how you want to be communicated with.
Love it.
That's it.
Okay.
All right, let's wrap it up. I don't know what we're actually at for time because we had a bunch of stuff. So we're over 40 minutes. So what do you got in closing? Anything?
Oh, gosh, you're killing me with these. I'm going to say in closing, don't let the bad reviews create a bad day. Focus on the positive things that you are doing. If you're feeling lost in your business, even hit us up for a phone call. Sometimes even a 30-minute chat with us could just be enough to realign where you're at and get you back on a path with some focus.
Yeah, for sure. So my closing thought is, if you're listening to this, give us a review.
Oh, yeah, I love
Leave us
that.
a review on a podcast channel. It would help us boost the show.
Super cool.
And it'll keep us interested in doing these. So other than that, I guess I've said everything I need to say today.
Okay.
I'm over it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.